So how are you one of the best gamers of all time, run three companies, run a US governmental department, and also tweet 24/7? Well, the answer in Elon Musk's case is a lot of drugs. And this is something like pretty much every single person has speculated on for a long, long time. Was standing next to Donald Trump, standing at rallies for a presidential campaign, obviously high out of his mind, and no one in mainstream media ever said anything about it. Also shows you in Elon Musk's case, I think so much of his erratic behavior is just driven by his drug addictions because it does seem that bad, and it's described that it even messed with his bladder because he was taking so much of these drugs, right? But today, I just wanted to talk about Elon Musk. Is he finally on his way out of the US government? Now, obviously, I'm not an idiot. Loads of people were celebrating that, oh my God, Elon is gone because it was his last day, even though Donald Trump was saying like he's not really leaving. And obviously Tesla and SpaceX, they're so in bed with the US government at this point. But at the same time, there are lots of things coming out about him now, like the drug piece by the New York Times. I'll read you some of that in a sec. That was a big deal. And also now he's fighting with mainstream high up members of the Republican Party over their new bill, which pretty much is a massive gift to the 1%. But for someone like Elon, apparently, like, that's not enough. Now he's fighting against the Trump administration wanting this. So I want to talk about all of this today. Like, is this actually the downfall of Elon Musk in terms of the political sense? Because it's pretty hard for someone who is that powerful and that wealthy to actually have a proper downfall. Like, is he ever going to end up in prison? No. Is he ever going to end up broke? No. But could he be ostracized from Republican politics? He definitely could be. The one thing I will say as well is I actually thought this would happen way sooner because it's pretty clear that so many people in the Republican Party actually hate him. He is a widely hated person. Obviously, him lurking around Mar-a-Lago all the time with Donald Trump at all times, you can see why people did hate him, because you'd imagine to all these people who were trying to get in with Donald Trump, someone worming their way in very recently and putting himself ahead of all these people who have been sucking up the Trump for years, you think that would probably, I don't know, annoy some people. So we'll see what happens, but I want to just talk about this today. But before we go any further, if you like my content, please leave a like and maybe subscribe to the channel, and also check me out on social media at the Kavernacle on Blue Sky and on Instagram. And also, if you want to support my work, check out my YouTube memberships and check out my Patreon page. So let's get into the rest of the video. It's been clear for the last probably 4 years, Elon Musk is extremely erratic in his behavior. When I spoke about this before, as someone who has experienced sleep problems in my adult life, I used to say that it feels like he's a guy who doesn't sleep. You can't obviously blame that for all his problems, but as someone who has gone through periods where I may be sleeping like 4 hours a day while working full time and doing like everything else to do with life, it does genuinely make you feel crazy. But also, I've never done drugs, so I can imagine that that mixture probably makes someone even more erratic. So that's why he'd literally sometimes be tweeting non-stop, like every hour of the day for days on end. And while he was supposedly running these companies, he's streaming himself playing video games. So it seems like that would only be possible if you are on some sort of drug cocktail that will keep you awake. So the New York Times released this on Saturday. On the campaign trail, Elon Musk juggled drugs and family drama. So I'm just going to read some of it to you, and then we're going to talk about it. So Mr. Musk's drug consumption went well beyond occasional use. He told people he was taking so much ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, that it was affecting his bladder, a known effect of chronic use. He took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms, and he traveled with a daily medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of Adderall, according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it. It's unclear whether Mr. Musk, 53, was taking the drugs when he became a fixture of the White House this year, but he exhibited erratic behavior, insulting cabinet members, doing that salute, and also garbling his answers in stage interviews. Elon Musk has described some of his mental health issues in interviews and on social media. He's also denounced traditional therapy and antidepressants. He plays video games for hours on end. He struggles with binge eating, and he takes weight loss medication. He has a history of recreational drug use, the Wall Street Journal reported last year, and some board members at Tesla have worried about his use of drugs like Ambien to help him sleep. In March 2024, Don Lemon pressed him on this drug use, and Mr. Musk said he took a small amount of ketamine about once every 2 weeks as a prescribed treatment for negative moods. But the Times has found recently he's developed a far more serious habit. He's been using ketamine often, sometimes daily, mixing it with other drugs. The line between medical use and recreational became blurry, troubling some people close to him. Like it said before, he took the other drugs at private gatherings across the US and at least in one other country. And you guys will remember a lot of his just like bizarre behavior. And look, I think Elon has always been a terrible guy, and I actually think he has been radicalized by his own social media platform to be like terrible politically. Like, I do think he was always a racist piece of shit and just a terrible guy all around, but I do think he has changed his politics recently, and I do think his behavior is very much influenced by a lack of sleep and this cocktail of drugs which are meant to help you sleep, but also things like Adderall and ketamine means you're not going to sleep. All of that combined basically makes him crazy. Now, with most people suffering addictions, I want them to like get help, of course, and it probably would be good for humanity if Elon got some help, but also it's just so insane that people who clearly have this substance abuse problem that's affecting them so clearly had so much say over what the US government was doing. Now, one thing I'll say about the timing of the article, I think it's really interesting it came out when it did, and it has loads of quotes throughout the article, because it's not just about the drug addiction, it's about his relationships as well, from people close to him. And what I think that means is maybe not like family members and close friends. It's probably loads of the Republican politicians who've been traveling around with Donald Trump recently, and Elon Musk has been there. And you've seen that with like, you know, Mike Johnson has been on like Air Force One with both of them. So you feel like a lot of these people who have come forward to the New York Times are probably Republican insiders trying to do a hit job on Elon Musk. Like, not saying it isn't true, of course, but I'm saying the timing with this coming out when he's leaving the White House, and now he's going against the White House and Republicans he was besties with only recently, like the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, you can maybe see that maybe the Republican Party don't want to play with Elon anymore. And this could be like the context around Elon Musk coming out against this new Republican bill. So Rolling Stone just broke it down. So Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill is a reverse Robin Hood nightmare. It steals from the poor to give to the rich. The 1,000-page version that passed the House will also balloon the deficit by $4 trillion. This Trump tax bill achieves the feat by extending and expanding the tax breaks for the richest Americans, while at the same time depriving more than 10 million Americans of health insurance and regular access to doctors by axing $880 billion from Medicaid. It also increases red tape for Obamacare while allowing other subsidies to lapse, boxing millions more out of their insurance. The bill is regressive as a matter of tax policy. It will reduce the take-home incomes of the bottom 10% of income earners by 4% by the end of the decade, according to the Congressional Budget Office projects. Penn Wharton finds that most households earning less than $51,000 will immediately see their after-tax income decrease. Meanwhile, the bill will boost the incomes of the top 1% by nearly $70,000 in the first year alone, giving that elite cohort a collective $124 billion net tax cut. So just like Trump's main accomplishment in his first administration, this massive handout to the 1% seems to be the main policy that everyone in the Republican Party wants. Yeah, sure, there's some stuff in there that he can sell to just your average person, but at the same time, people like Elon Musk stand to gain, and even with things like cracking down on people who are on Medicaid and stuff, seems like someone, if Elon would be sincere with like cutting government spending and shit like that, seems like maybe, I don't know, he would like this. But again, it seems curious that he's left the government. This article comes out against him in terms of like his relationships and his drug problem, and now he's coming out against this bill. So he wrote on Twitter, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on all those who voted for it. You know you did wrong. You know it." And then he retweeted this, someone saying, "The GOP are out there spending millions on luxury hotels in Ukraine, not voting on any Doge cuts, spending 60% of their time on vacation, and not codifying executive orders. Is this the major reform the American people voted for? And he writes, in November next year, we fire all politicians who betrayed the American people. And then commenting on his tweet about this, he says, it will massively increase the already gigantic budget deficit to $2.5 trillion and burden American citizens with crushingly unsustainable debt. So Elon's bestie Mike Johnson responded to what he said, and he said, it's very disappointing. I've come to consider Elon a good friend. He's obviously a very intelligent person and he's done a lot of great work. But with all due respect, my friend Elon is terribly wrong. He said they'd spoken on the phone about it, and he said he'd extolled all the virtues of the bill to Elon, and we had a very friendly conversation about it. And it also says this article that 4 Republican senators were exasperated when they spoke to Politico about Elon Musk's latest jab. Now, a lot of people will say, and I think this is the wrong analysis, they will say, well, because there's things in the bill that will expand the deficit or whatever, right? Elon Musk, the principled libertarian who really cares about government waste, that's why he can't support it. And I would just say, I don't really buy that, because he's talking about Americans being saddled with more debt. Like, he cares about like the average American, despite the fact that Doge has just like laid waste to so many governmental programs that so many Americans rely on to actually just like live, right? So he doesn't give a shit about that. What it really is a civil war within the inner circle, where Elon Musk is probably feeling like he's being forced out. He gets this New York Times article and everyone's now talking about his drug addiction. Don't know what's going on with his face. He's got that massive bruise he says his kid gave him, which I highly doubt. And now he's directly going against Speaker Mike Johnson, and of course, directly going against Donald Trump, because Donald Trump wants this bill as well, again, which is a massive handout to the 1%. So the Trumps in a circle have decided they don't want to play with him anymore. And Elon is deciding that he's going to go against the Trump administration. One thing I will say, he's retweeting like a lot of like libertarian politicians who also don't like the bill. I would not be surprised if in response to this little like catfight they're having, he starts funding libertarian Republican primary challenges to Republicans he doesn't like. But yeah, like what we're really seeing is just one man's ego being bruised, because does anyone seriously believe he actually, in terms of policy, like genuinely cares about what's in the bill when he hates it so much he has to go against Trump and his allies? No. It's just a guy who feels like he's being forced out of the inner circle and feels like maybe his work wasn't done in completely entrenching his companies in the US government. So I would say expect Elon Musk to spiral. I don't really know how he could spiral even more. Maybe he could. But yeah, it's pretty clear. Maybe Elon Musk's political downfall is beginning right now. I would love it if it was his real downfall, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So I expect in the future him to say more shit about Trump allies and maybe go in a more like libertarian direction in terms of who he gives money to politically. I would not be surprised in the slightest if he starts saying nice things about some Democrats, and I would not be surprised if some Democrats start saying nice things about Elon Musk as well. Probably would be the most Democrat thing ever to allow Elon to influence them and start cozying up to him after he basically funded their destruction in the last election. But we'll see what's going to happen. So that is it for the video. Got a nice long one on the downfall of Jordan Peterson, hopefully coming out this week as well. And that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.